In this edition of Southern Newsweek, a huge corm at Dunedin's Botanic Garden has been weighed to see if it's likely to flower this year. One of the oldest vehicles in Dunedin has been getting a spruce up ahead of a national rally. And we scale the lofty heights of the former Dunedin prison roof to see how the retiling is going. Kia ora, I'm Melissa Barton. Staff at Dunedin's Botanic Garden have weighed one of their largest corms to see if it will flower this year. In 2018, the garden's Amorphophallus titanum flowered, putting it in the record books as the southernmost flowering plant in its species.
From little acorns, mighty oaks can grow, and from 30+ kilogram corms, huge stinky flowers can bloom. This Amorphophallus titanum has been at Dunedin's Botanic Garden for more than a decade, and at its weigh-in, its caretaker remembers when he could hold it in his hand, not needing 3 people to lift it.
We got it the size of a golf ball. The tuber was about the size of a golf ball. We've just measured it today and it was now up to about 37 kgs, so in that time it's increased quite a bit.
Gardens curator Stephen Bishop says the corm may not look like it's doing much, but it's busy gathering strength, ready to either produce a flower or just a 4 to 6 metre high leaf. Sadly, for those looking to take a whiff of the flower's distinctive odour, Bishop is pretty sure they'll have to wait a bit longer.
It's a good question. Yeah, there's a very small chance. I think it's just probably going to go into leaf this time, so we'll see it put up a leaf that should last for about 18 months. There's probably, I would say, about a 10% chance of it flowering this time round. So probably we're going to have to wait another 2 years and then I'll be a lot more confident that it'll flower then.
In 2018, it became the first in the world of its genus to flower this far south, attracting thousands of people to the winter gardens. Bishop says it takes between 18 months to 2 years to recover from flowering, as the plant uses a considerable amount of energy to bloom.
I made a very big call that I thought it was going to flower, and fortunately I was actually correct in that. And that generated a lot of excitement for members of the Dunedin public to come along and have a look.
The reason the huge flower produces the smell of rotting flesh is to attract pollinators, in an attempt to procreate with another Amorphophallus titanum. In 2018, Botanic Garden staff and botanists from the University of Otago collected and froze pollen, hoping to help another in the species produce baby stinky plants. As for this 37 kg monster corm, it's just an adolescent, with plenty of growing to do, and may reach more than 70 kilograms at full maturity, at which point they'll be getting even bigger custom pots made. In Dunedin, the South Today.
The head of the merged collection of New Zealand polytechnics recently addressed Otago Polytechnic staff. Stephen Town took up the newly created role in July and is currently visiting learning institutions across the country. He says not everyone's job can be guaranteed under the current economic and social climate.
Taking the stage at Otago Polytechnic, the new CEO of Te Pūtanga Aotearoa, Stephen Town, addressing staff and students.
Our charter requires us to improve equity of access across Aotearoa, and so that means we are charged with going to the geographic extremities of this country and breaking down barriers and improving access for everyone.
Te Pūtanga Aotearoa is the newly formed organisation encompassing the nation's polytechnics, with Stephen Town announced as the inaugural CEO in July. In his address to educators and learners, he says COVID-19, its effects on international students and other factors mean not everyone's job is safe.
And we are trying to preserve capacity and to retain employment where we can. But the reality is we can't guarantee every single job in our system because of the magnitude of what is occurring.
A microphone was set up for people to ask questions during the event. President of the Otago Polytechnic Students Association, Nathan Laurie, asked about student representation at Pūtanga Aotearoa.
So you mentioned this learner at the centre's working group, the effects of that we felt across Te Pūtanga. Could you tell us how many learners are in that group?
We've basically been visiting every ITP. I hope learners have got some awareness of that, and building up a forum of participants.
Professor Samuel Mann asked whether the organisation would incorporate some of the procedures and practices of Otago Polytechnic which work. He's hoping when the new organisation takes over, they won't change systems which aren't broken.
What the Charter requires Te Pukenga to achieve is to get a balance of regional autonomy and leadership and the benefits of a network at scale.
Stephen Town says among the main reasons for his visit to Otago Polytechnic include communicating with staff about progress around the operating model and Pukenga Aotearoa's aims for learner-centred education. In Dunedin, the South Today.
There are few Kiwis who can boast of owning a car more than 100 years old. Colin Winter has spent several days getting his 1900 Wolseley Voiturette in top shape for a national veteran car rally held recently.
Colin Winter has a different definition of pedal to the metal. The 74-year-old is polishing up his 1900 Wolseley Voiturette for the National Veteran Car Rally in Gore this weekend. While he enjoys being behind the wheel of the 120-year-old vintage car, he'll be taking it down by trailer this weekend as it may be a little slow for State Highway 1.
We'll do somewhere around about 40 kilometres an hour, maybe 45, good going. Yeah. If you get it downhill, we'll get up to 50. Yeah.
Winter says his car, nicknamed Grandma, will be the oldest of the about 50 vintage cars expected at the rally, with all being built in 1918 or before. Grandma has been in his family for as long as Winter can remember, and while it's not the easiest to drive, it needs to be taken out regularly to avoid rusting away.
I've been brought up with it. This car's been in my family as long as I've been there, so I'm 74, so you know, my father had it before me, and she's a really good, reliable little car.
Without a roof on Grandma though, Winter says the only thing left to do is pray for a sunny day. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Concerns about the possible spread of COVID-19 meant the annual open day at a Southland tulip farm has been cancelled. Each year, Triflora New Zealand near Edendale open their paddocks full of colourful tulips to the public, but this year the risk is too high.
Each year, thousands of visitors flock to the collective colour of Southland's Edendale tulip farms. Just before harvesting time, usually Triflora New Zealand will be getting ready to open their gates to the public, but this year the public will have to appreciate the tulips from the roadside. Operational manager Rudy Verplunk says it wasn't an easy decision to cancel the annual open day, but the current situation with COVID-19 made it necessary.
Our biggest problem is getting overseas specialists in, and we rely for the upcoming season so far on a core group of our staff to help us out. And we simply cannot take the risk of exposing that core group of people with an already minimum skeleton crew to having visitors coming from all over the country. So that's why we had to make the hard decision to cancel it this year.
The initial COVID-19 lockdown earlier this year meant Verplunk was unable to export any of his product, having to instead store it and hope. But just in time, the country went into alert level 3 and he was able to start exporting the bulbs.
Although those flowers, they look beautiful, that's not our export product. Our export product at the moment is under the ground, so we export the bulbs to commercial flower growers all over the northern hemisphere, but mainly to America and Europe.
Verplunk says while the pandemic forced the company to look into alternative markets, North America was still the major focus. And all going well, about 60 million bulbs were likely to be exported this year, with about 35 different varieties.
They will be used next autumn. So the orange, the red, the yellow, that all has that autumny, Halloweeny, pre-Christmas theme. So yeah, that's why you see those colours a lot.
An alternative event will be held at the Edendale Presbyterian Church. At Edendale, the South Today.
Work on replacing more than 12,000 slate tiles on the roof of Dunedin's old prison has been underway for about a month. The re-roofing is part of the second stage of the $660,000 restoration project.
Despite some setbacks earlier this year, work on replacing the 12,125-year-old slate tiles on the roof of Dunedin's historic prison is making good progress. The re-roofing is part of the second stage of the $660,000 heritage restoration. Dunedin Prison Trust Chairman Owen Graham says the roof replacement is the key part of the whole project.
The roof is the key to the future of the building. Once we have this sound and secure, we know the building is already strong, and so we remove those risks from weather and other events like that. And then we can start looking at other options for the project, for the prison itself. The courtyard, which is below us, also has lots of additions, and they need to be removed so we can see what the potential is for that area in the future too.
As well as the roof, the restoration also includes taking off all non-original bars, checking all the iron sill windows, then repainting and refurbishing the exterior. Graham says the Trust hopes it can raise a final $60,000 before the end of the year.
We still have a little bit to raise before the end of the year, and that will mean that we can meet the full project. Our fallback is that we drop off some new gate pillars that we intend to put down at the front, so that they actually signal to the community this is where the Dunedin prison is.
Roofer John Megan is about one of a dozen people working on the former prison's roof. He says about 3,000 tiles have been replaced so far. He says many of the 125-year-old slate tiles have seen better days.
Taking off all the old slate, which is absolutely stuffed. You push your finger through it just about. Just years and years and years, so much time, and just putting new slate on, which we've done here, and replacing all that and fixing all the lead work up and just generally tidying the whole place up. So it'll last another 120 years.
While some people would start to tire at the sight of the slates by now, Megan says the work is rewarding, though there's still a bit to do before Christmas, when he hopes to have it all completed.
Got a few more thousand to come off.
Yeah. The project is expected to take until mid-March next year to complete. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Still to come up after the break on Southern Newsweek, the rubbish-strewn streets around the University of Otago campus get a spruce up, and a team of volunteers battle weeds invading tussock grasslands, so see you after the break. Welcome back. A clean-up of the North Dunedin Student Precinct was organised in memory of a student who was tragically killed last year. Fellow students honoured the memory of Sophia Cristani by cleaning up rubbish on the streets around the University of Otago.
Students from the University of Otago braved the rain last Friday, cleaning up the streets around campus in memory of Sophia Cristani, who was crushed to death a year ago in a stairway pile-up at a student party.
Me and my flat have just come down really to support Sophia. It's such a great cause, and we love being able to see everyone rally around something that is actually really meaningful.
Despite the rain, the rubbish skips were already close to full by mid-afternoon.
So yeah, it's been a good turnout, and we've collected a lot of rubbish.
The clean-up was hosted by uni crew volunteers and the Otago University Students Association, and supported by signatories of the Sophia Charter, which includes the university, police and Dunedin City Council. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Lindis Pass has a tussock issue, which won't go away anytime soon. One group is determined to cull the weeds to stop them from taking over the native tussock landscape.
New Zealand's best-known tussock grassland landscape has a battle on its hands. Lindis Pass Conservation Group organiser Anne Stephen has spent the past 16 years encouraging volunteers to help with the tough task of protecting the high country's native tussock.
I feel we have a duty to try and make good all the damage that we've done to this landscape as a community. I'm driven to try and rectify some of the damage that we've done in the past and do my best to contribute. But I just love being in these tall tussock grasslands. I was brought up in the Mackenzie country. It's in my blood, if you like. I feel very comfortable in these landscapes.
Stephen says even though it's hard work, it's worthwhile and needs to be done.
It's a labour of love. We love working up in this environment, and when you live in town, any excuse to get out into the high country and do something meaningful is a valuable experience.
The group is set for another season trying to cull back the unwanted weeds.
But it's always there, it's insidious, it keeps coming back, and we have to work at it every year.
In Wanaka, the South Today.
A 1980s themed party was held at Cardrona last weekend. The event celebrated the end of the season and 40 years since the ski field first opened to the public.
Cardrona Alpine Resort started the year with a bang, with the country's Prime Minister attending the opening of the ski field at the end of June.
I'm not a skier.
General Manager Bridget Legnevsky says COVID-19 and the absence of overseas tourists created a lot of uncertainty in the build-up to this year's winter season.
The worst day was probably the night we got told we were at 9:30 at night we were going into level 2, and just, you know, the sort of the anxiety of what we needed to do to move to that step. Even though we were prepared, it was a pretty big call that late at night, so that was probably the toughest time, and then we got into that and it wasn't too bad. It was hard on the staff though.
And this last Saturday the ski field celebrated the end of this year's season and 40 years of providing snow fun for skiers by holding an 80s themed bash on the mountain.
Well, the outfit is, these are the original boots, 46 years old, original pants, new jacket, but the rest of it's just party. It's 80s party, you see, so we're going hard.
Yeah, so my ensemble today, I've got some beautiful flares, a nice retro jacket, paired with a beautiful little headpiece knitted by myself.
Well, this is a late 80s kind of outfit from Japan that was on a brochure cover, so many people find it recognisable. It's been used by Cardrona many a time, even in the last year, so I thought it's perfect and it almost still fits.
Despite opening briefly in 1980, the first full ski season at Cardrona was 1981, a year that former operations manager Shaun Gilbertson remembers well.
I think they had 10 days the year before, the very first year, and then we did 6 weeks. And I was sort of, I just call myself like, you know, I was cleaning toilets and doing some of the really dingy stuff, you know, like fun jobs.
And what are you doing now?
Same stuff really, nothing's changed.
Saturday's party was the first real get-together of the ski field's old stalwarts in many years.
And this is quite nostalgic actually. It's the first time we've done turns together since Snowboard Masters.
Probably is.
Yeah.
Snowboard Masters, this will be the last time we get the skiing.
Yes. What year was that? Come
Probably
on,
in 2002 or 3.
No, I think it'll be 5.
5.
Or 4 or 5.
Yep.
Plans for summer on the slopes include hiking, biking and mountain karting. In Cardrona, the South today.
Dunedin rally driver Emma Gilmour nearly hung up her overalls and retired from motorsport last year. But her choice to hang in there has paid off, with a return to the podium finish last weekend.
A resurgence in form is sliding into place for Dunedin-based rally driver Emma Gilmour.
Yeah, well, so we finished third, and it was great to be on the podium because it has been a very long time with the the disappointments we've had. The last time I was on the podium was when I won in Canterbury in 2016, so it's been a while. So it was a really nice feeling to be back there.
It's been 4 years between podium finishes for Gilmour, which the multi-trophy winning driver says has been tough. So tough, in fact, she nearly called time on her career.
Yeah, well, we had a pretty tough season last year. We had a lot of reliability issues with the car, and come that last event in August last year, I did a bit of soul searching. I was pretty near breaking point because I'd had so many disappointments for so long.
She says being back behind the wheel of her customary souped-up Suzuki Swift and sliding around gravel roads at Rally Bay of Plenty has reminded her why she does it. She says competing for the first time since August 2019 has been excellent.
It was awesome. Fantastic to be rallying again. We're at the Rally Bay of Plenty, and although not a national championship round this year because we've got no national championship due to COVID, it was just amazing to be driving again. So it's been a really long off season for me. Last rally I'd actually competed in was August last year.
She remains Dunedin based, working by day in her car dealership, while her rally team is Auckland based these days. And it's in the city of Sales where she's next due to race, at the Jacks Ridge Rally Sprint and the Auckland Rally. In Dunedin, the South today.
Still to come up after the break on Southern Newsweek. Children learn cycle safety in South Dunedin, and an animal park in Queenstown reopens its doors after being shut for 10 years. So see you after the break. Thanks for staying with us. A year after their 2 dogs went missing, a Dunedin couple haven't given up hope of finding their much-loved pets. Signs have been erected across New Zealand in the hope someone will recognise the dogs, which the couple suspect have been stolen.
Otago Peninsula couple Alan Funnell and Louisa Andrew have been sending professionally printed signs and flyers around New Zealand in a search for their two dogs, Dice and Weed, who went missing a year ago and are thought to have been stolen.
We've got signs up around New Zealand. The whole problem with missing dogs, once they're out of your area, it's really hard to create awareness. So we've just been fully focused with the social media and generating awareness within people who can support us so that they can promote them in their own area. I think that's the key.
The couple say they're very grateful for help from the community, such as this search party which was organised by local harriers shortly after the dogs went missing last October.
Yeah, quite humbling how people will drop what they're doing and go and look for you and help any way they can.
It's actually just really amazing here.
The couple say all their spare time outside of work has been spent looking for their much-loved pets.
To keep something like this going, it requires a lot of time and energy, and we don't have a problem doing that. I mean, we love the dogs and we want to find them, and we've probably put at least 20,000 of our own dollars into it.
And a Give a Little page has already raised over $13,000 to help continue the search for the missing dogs. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A new joint initiative between schools, the Dunedin City Council and Bike School is encouraging safe road users before they ride on actual roads. South Dunedin's Bathgate Park School is one of the institutions, giving youngsters a chance to learn potentially life-saving skills.
Putting pedals to the metal is the safety of their new track. Bathgate Park School pupils testing out their road safety track with world champion Scarlett Hagen.
It's been pretty exciting designing and planning and managing the tracks for schools. It gives the kids a chance to learn cycling in their schools before we head out onto the roads.
8 times New Zealand champion Hagen knows a thing or two about mountain bikes and safety. She also knows some kids love to compete, so she added a special feature to Bathgate Park's track.
In the Bathgate Park School, we included a slalom racetrack so the kids can race each other along a track with winding corners and some technical obstacles.
The school's principal says making theirs a dual track not only adds the competitive element, but can also make them safer road users.
Well, the 2 lanes is something special to Bathgate Park School. It was a particular request I put in. We wanted it for 2 purposes. One, of course, is for the children getting used to having someone on their peripheral, because when you're out on the roads there are cars, cyclists, walkers and other obstacles that are on your peripheral, and so it gives them a chance to be familiar with that.
Katrina Robertson is pleased the school has this new facility.
Well, it's an amazing addition to our school. We were very fortunate to be able to get this provided for us. So what it's going to allow is our children a chance to practice their road safety skills, both for bike riding and also for scooter riding.
Dunedin City Council Road Safety Education Coordinator Alkia Van Alst is pleased the council co-funds tracks like this one with Waka Kotahi, the New Zealand Transport Agency, and says it'll mean these future road users will have established road sense.
Yeah, so I guess the good thing about having them off-road is that the children can practice in a safe environment and build their confidence, and then hopefully they'll go on to using more active transport to school, like walking and cycling. They learn here sort of more than just cycle skills. They also learn like the road rules, what it means for stop signs, roundabouts.
Alkia Van Alst says on average each of these road safety tracks in schools costs about $3,000 to install. In Dunedin, the South Today.
This year's Young Enterprise Scheme Championships entries were too close for judges to call on Monday night. Instead, first place went to 2 businesses developed by senior pupils from Otago. One was a honey business, with the other importing and powdering berries from Persia.
The Otago Young Enterprise Scheme Championships on Monday night ended up too close to call, with the judges choosing 2 winners for this year's awards. Maniototo area school pupil Pete Chesmore, who has already been a recipient of this year's Otago Daily Times Class Act Awards, has been dabbling with beekeeping and now has half a dozen hives making honey. He's also branched out into conservation by creating bee hotels as a safe place for New Zealand's 28 species of native bee to live.
The diversification into bee hotels was based around raising awareness about New Zealand native bees and conservation of their natural ecosystem, which is under threat from invasive wasps and a huge lack of habitat.
The other winning team was Albauro from Bayfield High School, who hit on the scheme of importing dried Persian barberries and turning them into powdered health product.
Yeah, so we import it from Iran. We came across it after I found out about the research done on it. And so we decided, because it wasn't sold in the New Zealand market, that we would be the first once we got involved with the Young Enterprise Scheme.
The Bayfield team have already seen a $2,000 profit on their sales this year and become accomplished at pitching their business scheme along the way.
It was pretty new for us because we're year 12, so this was our first year in the Young Enterprise Scheme. So this was our first time running a business. So it was pretty exciting getting to pitch for the first time, and I think by the second time we got pretty used to it.
University of Otago Business School Dean Robin Gould says the standard of products the students have come up with this year has been unprecedented.
They've really been creative, they've been innovative, they've worked on very real problems that they've identified and come up with extraordinary solutions, and that to me is what's really exciting about Young Enterprises, bringing together innovation, creativity, and then driving a solution that's making a better world, and also learning about business and making some money along the way.
The two winning teams are set to present their business models at the Nationals in Wellington in December. In Dunedin, the South Today.
After 11 years, the gates to Queenstown's Deer Park Heights have opened to the public again. The iconic Peninsula Hill at Kelvin Heights has been in the Mee family since the 1960s and was the area's only successful non-sporting attraction until it shut in 2009.
Deer Park Heights closed its doors to the general public 11 years ago, but the station's owner says it's now time to throw open the gates.
Because the bloke's got to make a buck, but not mostly actually, we think it should be open to the public. I think it's a magnificent place for people to come and have a look around and see share the animals and look at the view.
Owner Mike Mee says since closing to the public, the farm has been operating as a breeding and finishing deer farm, which will continue. But he's looking forward to giving people a rural experience.
You'll see animals and you'll be able to feed goats and deer, and we've got llamas and pigs and donkeys and horses.
While it's being closed to the public, the scenic spot has featured in several movies, including Lord of the Rings and Wolverine. Mee says it'll be nice to see people coming back, especially sharing the excitement of kids experiencing country life. Deer Park Heights is due to open on October the 20th. In Queenstown, the South Today.
And that wraps up this edition of Southern Newsweek. For the latest news from the Southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on YouTube and Facebook. Thanks for watching. Ka kite anō.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.